This week, what do we know about lessons that we can practically apply in Freemasonry? Yeah, there's books, there's programs, but what really do we know? We've got a great article from Chad M. Lasik, 33rd Degree, in a featured piece from this month's Lyceum, the Committee on Masonic Education's publication for the Grand Lodge of Illinois. Then we'll explore a myriad of different Masonic conferences happening across the United States. Then we'll discover just how every single person might be a working tool for God, or the grand architect of the universe. Does it truly need us? Are we not the pillars that hold up the existence? In a wonderful piece, our brother Axel from Universal Freemasonry will explore just that concept and a whole lot more. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Whence Came You, a Masonic podcast featuring research papers and discussions related to Freemasonry. Here's your host, Brother Robert Johnson.
Welcome back to the show. This is episode number 679. Right away, I want to do the usual thing and thank our contributors, fellows, producers, and legacy partners of the show. Recently, over the last couple of weeks, we've picked up a few new producers of the program, and I really appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoy the packages that are getting sent your way. It's a small token of thanks from me to you, and of course, those gifts that come from me to you are also from everybody else out there who enjoys this program. It's a thank you from everybody to you for your efforts to come together to bring this Masonic education out there to all those interested in Masonic education, Freemasonry, and its kindred sciences. If you're curious on how you can help support the WCY podcast, head on over to our website, wcypodcast.com. Click on Support the Show and check out the various options. We also have a shop where we sell our producer's pin. You can pick that up. We also have our handmade bespoke leather keychains, which I make by hand, cut them by hand, sew, burnish, all of it. You can read all about that on our website as well. That is a product of my hobby, which is leathercraft. So I do a lot of EDC or everyday carry leather stuff. I make bags, all of that. Everything's on the table. If you're curious about leathercraft or other things that I'm making, head on over to Skull and Crown Ltd, as in Skull and Crown Limited.com, to check out the various things that I do there. It is true, if you buy anything from me on the WCY shop, all proceeds, whether it's from books, keychains, whatever, all that goes right back into the production of this show. And you know what? A good portion of anything we make on Skull and Crown also goes right back into making this podcast and Masonic endeavors in general that are under the banner of education. Something you should know about Skull and Crown is that everything is on the table. I don't really focus on inventory. I do have a few staples that I always have in stock or that I'm always willing to make, but I don't focus on quote-unquote inventory. If there's something you're looking to have done, a belt, a bag, a special kind of wallet, keychains, whatever the case is, I'm happy to enter into a conversation with you and we can talk about that. But just the same, we always have our standbys, which are what we call gold standards, always available, and everything is always made to order, which means I'm always ready to make them. Got a full grain standard, which is our wallet. We do our classic keychain, which is the same one you'll find on WCY Podcast's shop. I do a passport/folio that I call the Pathfinder, and it is a book that you can put your Pathfinder in, or if you like to just keep your passport from your Scottish Rite in there, you can do that. It's available with or without branding. Of course, we've got our basic field notes, which is a single piece of leather that hand cut, burnish, and all of that, and throw a nice elastic cord on it and throw a little notebook in there for you, perfect for your back pocket. The thing a lot of people have been asking me about, I premiered at the Midwest Conference of Masonic Education, which was something called the Matchbox Lodge. This is legitimately, I found a matchbox and I was really inspired by those little cases of working tools that people used to gift back in the 50s and 60s, and sometimes they were made of ivory or ivory-like materials, white plastics and things. Well, this is what inspired that. So the Matchbox Lodge is a little unique memento that comes in an actual matchbox, transformed into a tiny Masonic lodge. So inside the matchbox, you will find little miniature versions of the essential working tools. You'll find the plumb, a square, and a compasses, along with a little detailed representation of the volume of sacred law. And on top of the matchbox, we have adhered a mosaic pavement with the blazing star in the middle. You can check those out on skullandcrownltd.com. And again, all of the proceeds for these things come right back into Masonic Education one way or another. So thanks again for any considerations in our endeavors to raise money for Masonic Education. The first piece I wanted to read for you this week is something that I have found myself actually quoting and thinking about so much since we put it in the latest edition of the Lyceum. What is the Lyceum? Well, it is a publication of the Committee on Masonic Education for the Grand Lodge of the state of Illinois. It is an official publication that comes out each month, most of the time. Sometimes it's a combined 2 months, but most of the time it is each month it comes out, and it is emailed to all Master Masons in the jurisdiction. But we also host those issues up on the Illinois Lodge of Research website. It is not a publication of the Illinois Lodge of Research. We just help out by hosting it there as well. The Grand Lodge website also will host from time to time when they have the availability to get it up on their website. I understand this is frustrating at times, which is why, we've been able to put it up on the Illinois Lodge of Research website, and also we post it in our Facebook group for the Grand Lodge of Illinois. Now, the Lyceum each month has a theme, and we try to publish articles specifically written on that theme or pulled from other sources, all, again, centering on a theme. This month, we wanted to do something as a committee. I'm on the committee, just so you are aware. I put together the magazine. Our chairman is Dr. Worshipful Brother Bernard Davis Jr. He is our chairman of the Committee on Masonic Education, and he asked that we do something on practical use of Freemasonry. And because of that, we've got a great set of articles in this issue, but specifically one that was written that I found to just be so good. We decided to make it our featured article for the issue, and is by one of our committee members, the illustrious Chad M. Lasik. So I'd like to read this for you right now. Applied Freemasonry by Chad M. Lasik, 33rd degree. As I approached my 18th year as a Freemason, I paused to consider what I have learned that might be useful and applicable in our day-to-day lives. I hope you find some value in these few discoveries, presented in no particular order. I've learned that the word charity is interchangeable with love. Whenever you hear the word charity in our ritual, replace it with love and discover that the meaning is exactly the same. The belief that charity is measured in dollars and cents is mistaken. It has very little to do with money. Charity is providing what is needed, not necessarily what is being asked for. Have you ever met a brother that talks so much you feel the need to escape? You know the person who seems oblivious to your body language and keeps talking to you even when your shoulders are turned away. Your hand is on the bathroom door and your facial expression shows you are eager to enter. We all know that brother. I know a few of them. What do you do when you see him? Do you give him a wide berth and avoid eye contact? Everyone does. This makes the situation even worse. They are obviously in need of some human contact, some attentive ear, someone to see them and acknowledge their existence. When they finally get a victim in their grasp, they cling tightly because they know they won't get many chances. Our avoiding them reinforces that tendency. One form of charity is willingly approaching them, with the foreknowledge that you're going to be there a while, and listening with a smile on your face. It's easier to give $20. You know it is. But that's not what this brother needs. He needs a little love and attention, and you and I both have some that we can spare. The cable tow functions automatically. Unlike the other working tools, which need to be selected and applied often, the cable tow works on autopilot. After spending several years in lodge listening to repetitive reminders of duties and obligation, our subconscious takes note. I realized this 6 years ago during a winter storm. I had just finished shoveling snow for over an hour and was about to relax with a mug of hot tea. Just then I heard a noise outside which drew my attention to the window. I saw my elderly neighbor futilely chipping away at a huge mound of ice. I felt a sense of dread. I did not want to help her. I had just removed my wet clothes and put on some warm flannel pajamas. I had just sat down in my favorite reading chair. I tried to find an excuse to remain in warmth and comfort. After a few moments, I stood up, got dressed, grabbed my shovel, and headed across the street. I didn't decide to do the right thing. I didn't decide anything at all. I knew instinctively that I did not have a choice. What I did was against my will, but in accordance with my newly formed character. We are becoming better men, as Freemasonry promised, whether we like it or not. I discovered the tremendous value of reading. As a child, my relationship with books was reluctant at best. We would occasionally be assigned a book report in school, which would require the briefest possible skimming of the text in the hopes of getting a C on the exam. Freemasonry introduced me to the idea of reading for personal growth as well as pleasure. Reading books on Masonic subjects quickly led to the foundational works of Plato and Aristotle. Reading is nothing short of magic and time travel. Want proof? How many Roman emperors do you know? Same here, 0. Yet we have free access to the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, the personal diary and reflections of the most powerful man in the world during 161 to 180 AD. We get to sit next to him in his most private chambers, listen to his intimate thoughts about life, what it means to be a good man, and our place in the universe. All the best minds in history are available to us. We have the potential to be the smartest generation in human history, only to be outdone by the next generation, who will benefit from our contributions. What we learn in school, besides how to pass tests, is how to learn. The accumulation of knowledge does not end at graduation, it begins. I spent over a decade walking around with what little I knew and trying to pass that off as wisdom. A love of reading and my library card are the greatest gifts I've ever received. I've learned that people budget their time and money for the things that truly matter to them. We tell a lot of lies when it comes to time and money. We even lie to ourselves. When we say, I don't have time, what we're actually saying is, that activity is not valuable enough for me to prioritize it above the existing demands of my time. Don't bother inhaling to load up a disagreement. It's true, and you don't owe anyone an apology for it. Each of us has precious little time in our days, and precious few days in our lifetime. Spend your time however you see fit, but don't kid yourself. You all have the time you need for the things you truly want. If you don't feel that way now, you should examine your true motivations. Everyone has a job. Everyone has bills to pay. Everyone has people in their life who lay claim to some of their time. If you let those things decide how much of your time they get, that's you deciding to let that happen. The same holds true for money. I can't afford it means I choose to allocate my limited funds to expenses other than this one. The notion of affording something is absurd. It suggests helplessness, that the situation is out of your control. Whatever money you have, be it a nickel or a fortune, is completely in your power. Yes, if you don't pay the mortgage, you may face eviction. You choose to buy that house or rent that apartment. You could live in a larger one or a smaller one, or a van down by the river. If the big house is a priority, then that's what you'll spend your money on. Since you spend the money on the big house, you might not have enough for the big boat. You can afford the big boat if you're willing to sacrifice the big house. It's a choice, your choice. You have the time and you can afford it. So can I. Continue to lie to others if you think it helps preserve their feelings, but let's not lie to ourselves. Our thoughts inform our actions. I grew up an only child of divorced parents. This resulted in me spending a lot of time alone. My imagination was constantly employed for my amusement and soon grew to limitless proportions. I discovered that I could create any fantasy in my mind, and there was no way for anyone to catch me or discipline me for whatever I did there. The most daring and exciting thing my young mind could conceive of was robbing a bank. I was the scourge of the American banking industry and law enforcement in those days. I would barge into the bank, brandishing whatever weapon du jour took my fancy, then grab the bags of money. You know the ones with the dollar signs printed on the outside. Sometimes I would go so far as to imagine how I would spend all that money. I never gave a single thought to the terrified bank tellers, the traumatized patrons, the police I shot during my daring escape, or the grieving families. After all, this wasn't real. I couldn't get caught, and no actual crime was committed. I thought that whatever happened in my mind had nothing to do with the real world outside. It wasn't until I studied the emblems lecture in our third degree that I realized our subconscious mind doesn't know it's make-believe. The Book of Constitutions guarded by the Tyler sword reminds us that we should be ever watchful and guarded in our thoughts, words, and actions. My subconscious mind was repeatedly trained that I am the kind of person that commits armed robbery and murder. I am pleased to report that I have not robbed any banks yet, nor have I shot anyone. Nevertheless, I was poisoning my mind with criminality and violence. We are what we concentrate on and surround ourselves with. That voice in our head is part of our identity. I used to be very hard on myself when I made mistakes. I would call myself an idiot, or worse, sometimes much worse. I now realize that every time I did that, I was educating my subconscious mind that I was stupid and useless. When we talk to ourselves like that, our subconscious believes us completely. Think well, feel well, do well. Be kind to your inner voice. Encourage him, forgive him, tell him you're proud of him, even when he doesn't fully deserve it. Post a Tyler in your mind and direct him to let no thought pass or repass, but such as are duly helpful and have your permission. Freemasonry has lots of enigmatic phrases like, as above, so below, and as without, so within. They sound neat, but it took me ages to begin to understand what we are supposed to learn from them. We are a fragment of the universe, and the universe exists within each of us. The elements that make up everything we see were forged in stars. All the elements heavier by atomic weight than iron were made during supernova explosions. The calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the carbon in your muscles, and the oxygen in your lungs were all made deep within the raging furnace of countless stars. All matter and all life obeys the same laws in every corner of the endless universe. We are an inseparable part of that unimaginably complex plan. I can think of no better name for the maker of that plan, or perhaps even the plan itself, as God. I think the single greatest acronym in all of Freemasonry is the GAOTU, or the Great Architect of the Universe, GAOTU. Can you think of a more perfect way to sum all the world's religions to their essence? No matter where or when you were born, or what language you speak, you offer your thankful prayers and mournful pleas to the Grand Architect of the Universe. Call him by any other name if you please, but his title is unchanged. You will find him everywhere you look, every leaf, every grain of sand, every drop of water. More important to our purposes, you will find him inside you. When you close your eyes and calm your mind, you will be in the center of your own fragment of the universe. Everything that exists out there exists in each of us. You are a small fragment of the universe, inseparable from God. It's deep stuff, I know, but it's unavoidably true. The observable, measurable laws insist that it can't be any other way. We are all chips from the only stone. The working tools are reminders. Have you heard the phrase, what gets measured gets managed? We can only change what we are aware of and pay attention to. Becoming a Freemason does not make someone better. Freemasonry doesn't change anything. It does give us tools to bring our awareness to places that are frequently overlooked. The working tools point out which things we should be measuring. When you hang a picture, do you step back and look to see if it's done properly? You might use a level if you're not sure. What about our actions? Do we ever step back to view them through the eyes of others? The working tools are a reminder to take a moment and make sure that we are satisfied with our work. Freemasons are people, and many people are stupid. they are also frequently disappointing. Do you ever feel like everyone around you is an idiot, and you can't figure out how they managed to get this far in life without setting fire to themselves? Have you ever observed someone's behavior with an open mouth, speechlessly wondering how they could possibly think that what they are doing is acceptable? I experience this most often while driving in traffic. The bizarre reality is that they look at us the same way. We all think we're the smart one in a sea of dullards. It can be frustrating to live in a world with people who aggravate us, but it's useful to remember that we aggravate them. It's easier to forgive a brother Mason since he is supposedly trying to be a better version of himself. It's much harder with the population at large. My wife bought me a singing bowl as a gift many years ago. This small brass bowl is shaped so that when you circle a wooden shaft around the outside rim, the vibrations cause it to ring in a pleasing, relaxing tone. There is a large Hindu symbol emblazoned inside the bottom of the bowl, which I was curious to understand. It is the Om, a sacred symbol in Hinduism. An exploration of this symbol introduced me to the phrase Namaste. One translation of the word is, "The divine in me bows to the divine in you." It is one of the most beautiful concepts I've ever known. Please consider that for a moment. The divine in me bows to the divine in you. You will remember that each of us contains a fragment of that divine spark or plan of the universe, whether we like it or not. It is not the imperfect, foolish idiot in me bowing to the inconsiderate, unreliable cheapskate in you. There might only be this one good thing in me, and you may only have that singular virtue in you, but that's more than enough for both of us to love and respect each other. The secrets of Freemasonry. Every organization has secrets. Your family has secrets. Freemasonry has secrets. The easiest of them to communicate are published all over the internet. There are deeper secrets, the kind that are difficult to tell. It's like trying to explain in words what love is to someone who has never felt it. The practical value of superficial secrets is greatly diminished today. There were times when membership in Freemasonry was dangerous, and concealing your involvement was necessary. There are still places where that is true to some extent, but fortunately for us in America, we can proudly admit our membership. There is one important function I have found for these secrets, even the ones that are now common knowledge. It's a test. Are you the kind of person that can be trusted with a secret, even if that secret is published on 1,200 websites? The question is, will you disclose it? You promise not to. Are you the kind of person that keeps his promise? When you make a vow before God, are you bound by honor and duty? It is particularly important for you to know that answer. Subduing our passions. It's what we said we came here to do. I've learned that subduing them is misleading. It sounds like we're supposed to keep a lid on them, control them, limit them to an acceptable extent. We don't eliminate them, we keep them in a cage or place them on a leash. How are we supposed to do that? I guessed that we're expected to employ our willpower. I was wrong. Willpower is at best of times a band-aid with very little stickiness. It will fall off and soon. The only way I know to permanently change a behavior is to consciously change your identity. If you're trying to lose weight and you're walking past a box of donuts someone brought to the lodge meeting week after week, one of these days you're going to have powdered sugar on your fingers. With willpower, you must fight the desire for something and win every single time. It's inevitable that it will fail. If you roll the dice long enough, you will get every possible combination. Wanting something and denying it to yourself does not work. What you can do is decide that you're the kind of person who eats a healthy diet. You don't eat fatty, sugary foods. It's not that you do or don't want to. It's that you're the kind of person that couldn't care less about it. This does not happen overnight, of course, but it will happen faster than you think. At first, you will need to tell yourself what kind of person you are. After a while, you will start to believe it. Eventually, you will become it. Start telling yourself that you are the kind of person you want to be. You will be amazed how quickly you can transform your will without the need for willpower. Again, this is by Chad M. Lasik, his Notes on Applied Freemasonry, some things he learned in the craft. I really love this piece, and I think Darren did as well when we decided to include it and make it the featured article in the issue. It is an absolute beauty of a piece because it lays bare something that many of us take for granted. Yeah, we get it, so what? But why aren't we doing it? Sure, there's all this interest in the ancient mysteries and things, but those mysteries are legitimately laid bare in the practical application to functionally change your own reality. And this is something he's talking about right here in this piece. Anyway, loved the piece. I hope you liked it. You can download the issue from our Facebook group, or if you were on the email list, or as soon as I can get it up on the Illinois Lodge of Research website, it'll be there as well, which is at illinoislodgeofresearch.org, O-R-G. Next up, I wanted to talk a little bit about some Masonic conferences that are happening. Okay, the big one, of course, right around the corner, the San Antonio Esoteric Summit. Happens less than a week from the release of this episode. So, do yourself a favor, head on over to esoterictexas.com and check out the website, San Antonio Esoteric Summit, happening Saturday, June 7th, 2025. It's going to be an all-day event. You got TJ Brumfield talking about Kabbalah, Rodney McGilvery will be talking about alchemy, Ben Williams is going to be talking about Martinism. He's our keynote speaker. I'll be setting the day off with Esoterics 101. We've also got Dirk Hughes doing some symbolism on the beehive. Jeff Bennett is going to be doing something very exciting called Symbolism Amplified. And the whole thing, we have a festive board with our Master of Ceremonies, Frank Zepp. It's going to be an amazing day. We're going to learn from each other. We've got a bunch of people already coming out for this. There are a limited number of tickets that are available as of right now. Again, it's an all-day event, and there will be plenty opinions and networking and talking going on. So as much as it is a symposium, it is also a sort of mastermind. So again, esoterictexas.com. The other thing I'd like to make you aware of is also that same weekend, if you're in New York, you can check out the Hudson Valley Masonicon. They have a full day of fellowship, enlightenment, presentations. They're going to be having Pasquale Leo, Jay Hockenberg, John Pasqualicchio, Andrew Doc Berry, George Kaiser, Rashid Bey, John Conrad, Kyle Williams, Chris Winicki, and their keynote is Pierce Vaughn. The topics for the different talks span the gamut from a point in the circle to being aware of PTSD to the Roman Catholic Church and Freemasonry, the purpose of initiation in Freemasonry. It's going to be a really great day of Masonic light. They're doing a trivia and hospitality hour, a festive board open to invited guests. The doors will open at 8 a.m. and their first speaker starts at 9 a.m. They're going to have food vendors on site, and they are requesting business attire. And you got to get your proof of good standing required for the speaker sessions. So, entered apprentices and fellow crafts must be vouched for. You can get your tickets. Just search for Hudson Valley Masonicon. And all the proceeds are going to benefit the Orange Rock Island Sullivan District Brotherhood Fund. And it is not a tiled event. And so, just want to say, if you're going to be on the East Coast, do yourself a favor. Check this one out, June 7th. It's going to be a fantastic event. And if you're in the middle of the country or on the West Coast, come on out to San Antonio Esoteric Summit. Some other things that are happening later in the year. June 14th, the following weekend, the Southeastern Masonic Education Symposium is going to be happening, which is hosted by Hillsborough Lodge number 25 in downtown Tampa, Florida. I've spoken at the conference before. It's a wonderful event. I will be speaking again this year, but I'll be speaking virtually. However, it will be a wonderful event, and I can tell you from past experience, it's a great time. Masonicon South, y'all, presented by the North Carolina Masonic Research Society, is going to happen later this year in October 2025. So we got October 18th at the Winston-Salem Masonic Center. It's 137 days, 8 hours, 11 minutes, and 32 seconds away. As of the time of this recording, you can head on over to MasonicConSouth.com to check out all those details. And if this isn't enough for you guys, well, I'm going to give you another heads up. Masonicon Kansas, the premier Masonic Education Conference, perhaps in the Midwest. How about this? Masonicon Kansas is now free for all attendees. Join Masons and friends for a day of immersive Masonic education, fellowship, and history. While admission is free, proceeds support the preservation of public Masonic monuments and historical sites in Kansas. So, Masonic education and preservation at its finest. They'll take donations and things at the door. I'm sure you can get your free ticket at MasoniconKansas.com. So far, they've announced one speaker who I already know is fantastic, and that is Stephen L. Harrison. When is it happening? July 18th. You can get your free ticket or virtual admission, which is also free. Now, the other thing you can do is you can donate to continue to help make Masonicon Kansas free. It's a $100 donation. It goes toward that. It goes toward restoring public Masonic monuments, expanding educational outreach, and strengthening the Masonic community. Every donation helps to keep Masonic history alive. So, please check it out. I will do my darndest to be there this year. I have already told Alex that I will be there, so I don't want to be a liar. Their festive board dinner on Friday, July 18th does require a ticket, which is paid. They just have to pay for the food, you guys. It's a $50 ticket. You'll get a custom glass included, a wine cannon, fire toasts, and there are ticket add-ons available at checkout, so you can do that. Saturday, free admission, Masonic lectures, on-site vendors, Masonicon mixer and auction in the evening. Again, free admission, live music, auction, drinks, appetizers at the Rosedale Lodge Casino night. It's gonna be off the chain, you guys. I'm really excited about it. I'm excited about all these events. I love Masonic education, and I love the fellowship that we have and the camaraderie we all have when we come together and exchange ideas and talk about all the cool stuff. Shortly after Masonicon Kansas, there is the South Pasadena Masonic Lodge's Masonicon 2025, Myth, Legends, and Subculture. This is perhaps the biggest Masonic conference in terms of length and content. There are several ticket options that you can get. I would just recommend not even messing around. Get the executive pass. It's $155. Why? Because it's 3 days long. 2 days of lectures, 2 days of screenings and Q&As. There are panel discussions on day 3. You get access to all of those, plus screenings, plus access to all the vendors, lunch, dinner, the Friday reception, their festive board. You get your shot glass, your program, your pin, coin, hat, mini poster, and 2 drink tickets. Yeah, it's insane. Who are the speakers? Well, they just blasted them all out. So we've got one of your favorites, Joe Martinez from the Grand Lodge of Virginia. He's doing a talk, Life, Death, and Rebirth. Angel Millar will be doing something on the initiation of the left-hand path, and he'll be on a panel for subculture and Freemasonry. Jamie Lamb from Arizona is doing a talk on astrology and Freemasonry. Dave Fiero, another friend from Arizona, he's doing a talk, The Mythic Imagination and the Esoteric Self, Consciousness and the Eternal Temple. Drew Wood from the Grand Lodge of California is going to be doing a talk called The Grail, the Cube, and the Lost Word. Darren Lainers, that's right, holy cow, from the Grand Lodge, Illinois, and our education committee right here in Illinois. He's going to be doing his talk, Harry Potter and Freemasonry. Daniel Rivera from Grand Lodge, California, Masonic Legends of St. Germain. That's exciting. Brother Justin Bradley and Jason Berry, both, one from Grand Prince Hall Grand Lodge and one from the Grand Lodge of California, will be both on a panel for the history of Prince Hall. Timothy Hogan's going to be there. He's going to be doing a panel discussion on the Egyptian rites in Freemasonry. Lucas Minton is doing a panel discussion, The Hero's Journey in Freemasonry. Michael Laidlaw, I believe he is the immediate past or still current worshipful master of the Southern California Lodge of Research. He'll be doing subculture and Freemasonry. Brother Cheevers will be there from the Grand Lodge of California doing subculture and Freemasonry on the panel. And of course, your boy from the Southern California Research Lodge, Dago Rodriguez himself from the Grand Lodge of California, will be there doing the opening remarks. What screenings are going to be there? Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone with Q&A. Then the lecture by Darren Lainers. Then they'll be doing Mysteries of the Knights Templar with a Q&A with Tim Hogan. And then Hot Shot with Q&A Phil Donlin, producer. And of course, their insane festive board. There's tons of vendors and everything else. It's like Disneyland for Freemasonry. So again, all these conferences, check them out. You can look at South Pasadena Masonic Lodge's website, MasonicCon.com for all the details and grab your tickets. This next piece comes from Brother Axel Savari, published on universalfreemasonry.org. God needs our help. Freemasonry is an ancient tradition, one that stands in opposition to many facets of the modern world. What precisely is it teaching about our purpose in life, and to what ends does it lead its initiates? We've been told that humanity is a cosmic insignificance, that all we represent is a chemical accident, random chance run amok, that the universe itself means nothing other than dark, empty silence, that our voice is the only lonely spasm of a cursed consciousness doomed to be consumed in time. This has regrettably created a considerable low state of consciousness among the peoples of Earth. We wonder at our inability to achieve as we once did, to build like we used to write like we used to live as we once did, and yet we do not see the condition we have created for ourselves. It used to be that every human being had, at their core, an idea of the divine. In the ancestral stories that Masonry uses to instruct her students, principally the Old Testament, the thought of human existence uninformed by the presence, activity, and will of the Most High was an unthinkable one. For very nearly the entirety of human existence, this has been so. Our ancestors lived, breathed, and had their being in God. It was this orientation of thought that made them great. Brute strength was not the sole author of human history. We are cursed by modernity to gaze upon history with Machiavellian eyes and miss its more subtle notes of faith, belief, and indomitable spirit. Christianity did not come to dominate Rome because of some plot hatched in the dark corners of Nicaea, but because Constantine Magus saw a flaming cross above the Milvian bridge at the hour of his greatest need. The onslaught of Islam was not a question of logistics, but rather that of an idea whose time had come. Persia did not submit to Greece on the basis of geographical coincidence, but rather surrendered to a boy king who carried the very fire of heaven in his right hand. The transcendent, the sublime, the mysterious, these are the true motivations for those heroic acts that drive the evolution of the human race. In rejecting our unique position in the universe as emissaries of the will of God and our role as His working hands, we have scorned our birthright. Is it really so remarkable that in such a state as this we now find ourselves stumbling through a world of material abundance, plagued by an inner darkness that cannot be overcome by all the treasures we have created? For in truth, it was not we who created them. Greater men than we have created order out of primeval chaos, in service always to the divine, and have left it to us ungrateful inheritors of traditions we routinely fail to understand. We are not insignificant in the grand scheme of our architect. We are vital. Our existence holds aloft the pillars of heaven and earth, for we are the pillars which reach between the realms and hold the temple together. Religion is the method by which these pillars are constructed, and it is religion that is humanity's special privilege to carry out on earth. The greatest secret of all religions is this: God needs our help. Thus, are religious rites and rituals created. God bears a particular burden, one that no one else can shoulder, and one for which He alone is responsible. It is by His breath that creation is created, and by His continuous effort that creation is sustained. Universal life is a great millstone, which cannot cease its operations for one single instant without bringing utter destruction to His labors. The legend of our craft teach us that we are descended from great initiates, master builders whose work it was to build the foundations, walls, and buttresses of religion for the sheltering of men. These are those great men who stand shoulder to shoulder with God at the grindstone, assisting the Great One with His inconquerable task. What greater loneliness could one imagine than that of being responsible for the very operation of creation? This is the true nature of Masonic duty. We are to assist the ignorant, to lift up our fellow men, but to what must they be lifted? Of what are the ignorant? They are ignorant of the Father's work and His need of them in accomplishing His labor. This is why the religions of today have become so hollow, so sterile. They, like all of our decrepit institutions, have forgotten the very basis and reason of human life. We drift about aimless, crying out for purpose and direction in what seems to be a meaningless world, while underfoot we tread upon a great tradition that tells us exactly what it is we should be doing. We strive for purpose and yet in the same breath reject the revelations of our place in the divine hierarchy. Because we think of ourselves as entitled to rights and not subject to duties, we forget our station, and in our arrogance we are cursed to wander unsatisfied. Liturgy descends from the Greek liturgia and means public work. In the ancient world, this was understood in its most literal sense. Religious service was performed for the sake of the city, the living embodied of a divinely established order. Religion in the ancient world was a matter so unquestionably real that its exact obedience was necessary not only for the fortune, but for the very function of human life. Human beings were essential to the operation of natural law, as instruments of the gods and as conductors of his spirit into the world. This has never changed. We have only forgotten our duty. It, however, has not forgotten us. For those of us who, however briefly and imperfectly, have peered beyond the veil of initiation, nothing could be a simpler statement of truth. At our initiation, we are taught not the simple manners which make a polite society. We are not taught self-refinement, nor self-improvement, nor self-anything at all. The mysteries are laid at our feet, not to be trampled over along our path toward our own personal progress, but as an opportunity to participate in the never-ending labors of God. The world around us has begun to awaken to a serious crisis, bewitched by the promises of rapacious materialism, hypnotized like Bronze Age cave dwellers by flickering lights. In the play of shadows, humanity has anesthetized itself with excess and leisure. A great awakening is just beginning and will be exacerbated by the coming social chaos that is inevitably attendant with the changing of the great zodiacal ages. Freemasonry, as the preserver of the ancient mysteries, has a sacred obligation to stand forth at the center of such historical storms and guide the people back to the path of the righteous, to be a voice crying out in the wilderness, to prepare the way for the return of the King. What shape he will take, where his avatar shall return, and what shall be the hour of his coming, no man of this earth yet knows. But we may be assured that he shall return, and his wonted custom at such times, and that he shall be in need of helpers once more. The initiates have always borne this duty. It is our solemn obligation to prepare the way, to open the door for his return, that the whole world may once more rejoice in the sublime serenity of his divine presence. Again, this is by Brother Axel Savari, published September 11th, 2024. What I find interesting about the piece is it calls for a duty for Freemasons to do. It sort of relates back to the practical lessons we learn in Freemasonry in the previous article we just read. Can we apply those things and become the tools of the divine? I think we can. Now, granted, this article comes from a particular viewpoint, a particular religious viewpoint, especially, toward the end of the article that talks about our return. And, this is not necessarily everybody's belief or cup of tea. However, the overarching message of the piece is to be Freemasons, to be the divine tools in bringing about goodness, progress, and goodwill toward everyone we come in contact with. And to that, I say huzzah. That's it for this week. I want to thank you all for joining me once more. Please check out esoterictexas.com. Grab your ticket for the San Antonio Esoteric Summit. And before we close out, I want to remind you, some of you have said, hey, RJ, you used to do a tarot card of the week kind of thing. I still participate in this. We just do it on the Masonic Roundtable. But that is not my only dabbling in tarot. I do tarot readings all the time. If you are curious, you can go to wcypodcast.com and you can just click on tarot at the top. It'll take you to a place where you can book a session. Happy to do that, and you can read about how I do tarot in an intuitive tarot consort. That's that. One more time, I want to thank our contributors, fellows, producers, and legacy partners of the WCY podcast. Without you, we can't make the show, and if you're thinking about how you can help support, head on over to the website. As I said in the beginning of the show, check out the Support the Show page and check out the various options. With all that, I want to say thank you so much for coming with me on this edifying journey, reading these couple of articles and going through all of these great conferences that are coming up. Hopefully, you all will find one in your neck of the woods, wherever you are on the earth or the astral plane, and come to one of these events. That's it for this week. Until next week, stay on the level. For Whence Came You, I'm Robert Johnson. Take care.
You've been listening to Whence Came You, a Masonic podcast featuring research papers and discussions related to Freemasonry with your host, Brother Robert Johnson. Be sure to join us for our next edition.
WCY Media.
Well, yes, meet me as